Leaders only have one thing: they have followers. A follower is somebody who raises their hand and volunteers to go where you're going. They raise their hand and volunteer to go in the direction that you're pointing. And so to lead others means that you have a clear vision of a world that does not yet exist, a world that could exist. And by articulating that cause, that vision, that purpose over and over and over again, it inspires people who believe what you believe, who want to see that world built, to join, to go with you, to figure out ways.
Dr. Mahathir's political leadership skills and mastery, as he mentioned in A Doctor in the House, are the result of his ongoing experiential and medical training application of the problem-based learning process. Observation by the late Professor Ahmad Fauzi Muhammad Basri and Professor Michael Leifer had also confirmed this contention. Leadership for Dr. Mahathir, therefore, is not much hereditary and natural-born attributes, but the result of the experiential learning process. Everyone can learn to lead, and the best way, according to Dr. Mahathir, is to learn through problems. In many ways, the 1987 UMNO leadership crisis was a good resource for learning leadership lesson. Among other things, we could learn the leadership skills of a leader at the top, such as designing a proper leadership successive plan to groom better successors, creating a blue ocean strategic thinking to improve the team leadership skills, and to reduce the destructive competition, thinking of a continuous improvement and not to fall into excessive pride and hubris born of success. This learning simulation is designed to guide the learning process based on Dr. Mahathir's leadership experience in facing the 1987 UMNO leadership crisis. The leadership crisis related to the 1987 UMNO party election was described by Dr. Mahathir in Chapter 4 of A Doctor in the House. His memoirs recall the event beginning with Musa Hitam's resignation until the formation of New UMNO, and how he finally reconciled with many of his opponents from Team B to continue leading the party for the next 15 years. For us who like to learn this, his experience could simulate the learning through an authentic problem trigger developed from Dr. Mahathir's description of the event in the memoirs. This short extract from A Doctor in the House could be among the most appropriate problem scenario for us to learn through. Perhaps the most serious challenge I faced came during the 1987 UMNO General Assembly, when my former deputy Tun Musa Hitam teamed up with Tengku Razali Hamzah to force me out of the party presidency. With Tun Musa working openly against me, I had to get Tun Ghaffar to contest the post for party deputy president. In the beginning, we appeared to have the support of the majority. The Team B campaign was clearly effective as the voting results did not reflect the stand by the divisions at the nomination stage. We finally received news that Tun Ghaffar and I had won. On June 25th, about 2 months after the party election, 11 Team B members filed a suit at the High Court to nullify the result of the General Assembly. High Court Judge Tan Sri Harun Hashim dismissed the UMNO 11 suit, but ruled that under Section 12(3) of the Societies Act, the existence of unregistered branches meant that UMNO itself in its entirety was an illegal party. This problem scenario and trigger should be motivating and addressing the issues of the content, the context, and the connection of the learning. We might not be able to experience the learning process at Dr. Mahathir's emotional level, but it could be sufficient if we could reach the highest cognitive level. To facilitate this learning simulation, we could consider the learning outcomes below. 1. To evaluate Dr. Mahathir's leadership when he was at the top. 2. To analyze the importance of an election system within a political party to develop better leadership environment. And 3. To investigate the effects of a leadership crisis on problem-solving skill among leaders. The diagnostic phase. In problem-based learning, learning exploration begins as soon as the learners encounter the problem trigger or scenario. In a formal learning condition, the problem scenario will be designed and presented by the teacher or lecturer or facilitator, and the first phase of learning is called problem identification or diagnostic or inquiry phase or process. One of the many diagnostic approaches in problem-based learning is called FILA or FACTILA, the approach often used in medical studies. FILA approach consists of facts, ideas, learning issues, and action plan. Whereas FACTILA approach is the extension of a FILA with one additional step called terms. In this simulation, we are going to use a FACTILA approach. Step 1, to identify the facts from the problem. Step 2, to identify the terms and conduct the cross-reference. Step 3, generate ideas from the facts. Step 4, to generate learning issues. And Step 5, plan for self-directed learning. Step 1, identify facts from the problem. The first step is to identify facts from the problem. The most convenient way is to identify the facts is to divide the problem into manageable and easy to understand statements or particulars from the problem scenario. Based on the above problem trigger, we could examine and explore the problem through the diagnostic process of FACTILA. The problem should be separated into manageable parts. This problem trigger contains 3 main parts of facts as listed below. Fact 1. Perhaps the most serious challenge I faced came during the 1987 UMNO General Assembly when my former deputy Tun Musa Hitam teamed up with Tengku Razali Hamzah to force me out of the party presidency. With Tun Musa working openly against me, I had to get Tun Ghaffar to contest the post of party deputy president. Fact number 2. In the beginning, we appeared to have the support of the majority. The Team B campaign was clearly effective as the voting results did not reflect the stand by the divisions at the nomination stage. We finally received news that Tun Ghaffar and I had won. Fact number 3. On June 25th, about 2 months after the party election, 11 Team B members filed a suit at the High Court to nullify the result of the General Assembly. High Court Judge Tan Sri Harun Hashim dismissed the UMNO 11 suit but ruled that under Section 12(3) of the Societies Act, the existence of unregistered branches meant that UMNO itself in its entirety was an illegal party. Step 2. Identify the terms and conduct the cross-reference. The second step is to identify terms, including important terminologies, abbreviation, unique phrases, proper names, or any strange or difficult to understand words. Learners will apply cross-reference to dictionaries, thesaurus, or encyclopedias, or any other related sources instantly. Below is the list of terms identified from the above problem trigger and the result of a cross-reference. 1. 1987 UMNO General Assembly. 2. Tun Musa Hitam. 3. Tengku Razali Hamzah. 4. Tun Ghaffar. 5. Deputy President. 6. Team B. 7. High Court. 8. Tan Sri Harun Hashim. 9. Section 12(3) of the Societies Act. To get a quick explanation on each of these terms, phrases and proper names, learners should conduct a cross-reference from dictionaries, thesaurus, encyclopedias, or any related resources. For instance, the event titled 1987 UMNO General Assembly. A quick reference should provide us with information and a clear explanation of the background of the event, including its description in the party's constitution as well as the historical background. And viewers are welcome to explore these listed terminologies, words, and proper names. Please refer to the discussion in Chapter 7 of my book. Step 3. Generate ideas from the facts. The third step is to generate ideas or hypotheses from the facts. At this point, learners should be able to relate their prior knowledge to the facts and propose new ideas to describe their understanding upon the facts. The ideas might be something closely related to the facts or interconnected in some way or another. Ideas or hypothesis generation is a crucial step in the diagnostic process. Learners working in group engage in higher order thinking activities through discussion, argumentation, and sometimes debates and disputes to come into the conclusion. Prior knowledge and skills are crucially important and helpful. Based on the facts identified above, we could generate as many ideas or hypotheses to expand our understanding upon the problem. For instance, from fact number 1, perhaps the most serious challenge I faced came during the 1987 UMNO General Assembly when my former deputy Tun Musa Hitam teamed up with Tengku Razali Hamzah to force me out of the party presidency. With Tun Musa working openly against me, I had to get Tun Ghaffar to contest the post of party deputy president. Among the most possible ideas are: 1. As a top leader, this was the most challenging moment for Dr. Mahathir. Second, it was at 1987 UMNO General Assembly where all posts were open for the contest. 3. Dr. Mahathir top leadership was challenged by Musa and Razali team. 4. Dr. Mahathir had to form his own team. Viewers are welcome to list some more ideas from each fact identified previously. Please refer to the discussion in Chapter 7 of my book. Step 4. Generate learning issues. A better understanding of the connection between facts and ideas is useful for the next step to generate the learning issues. Each idea should trigger the learners to constantly question what they need to learn further. Learners should learn how to ask good questions related to each idea. A good question will lead to proper learning issues related to the problem trigger. At this point of the inquiry process, learners should be able to identify the knowledge gap between what they already knew, the known things, what they did not know, the unknown, and what they should learn further, which is the learning issues. Learning issues comprise of the multidisciplinary nature of the problem. It was well known to us that every problem in the world is naturally multifaceted and made of various interconnected questions and requires a multidisciplinary solution. For instance, these are among the learning issues that could be generated from fact number 1 and ideas listed. Again, facts number 1 reads: perhaps the most serious challenge I faced came during the 1987 UMNO General Assembly when my former deputy Tun Musa Hitam teamed up with Tengku Razali Hamzah to force me out of the party presidency. With Tun Musa working openly against me, I had to get Tun Ghaffar to contest the post of party deputy president. Idea number 1. As a top leader, this was the most challenging moment for Dr. Mahathir. The learning issues are: 1. How to lead when you are at the top. 2. How to establish a proper leadership successive plan. 3. How to groom better successors. 4. How to create a blue ocean strategic leadership. 5. How to stop thinking that you are great and no one should be greater than you. 6. How to stop leading and start guiding. 7. How to develop team leadership rather than personal leadership. 8. How to stop fighting and start embracing. Idea number 2. It was a 1987 UMNO General Assembly where all posts were open for the contest. The learning issues are: 1. How was the previous UMNO General Assemblies organized? 2. How was the 1987 contest seen by the press and the people? 3. What posts were often closed for the contest and why? 4. how was the contest for leadership posts in other political parties in Malaysia? Idea number 3. Dr. Mahathir's top leadership was challenged by Musa and Razali team. The learning issues are: 1. Why Musa and Razali teamed up to force Dr. Mahathir out of the UMNO presidency? 2. Who else at Razali's side? 3. Why they were at Razali's side? Idea number 4. Dr. Mahathir had to form his own team. The learning issues are: 1. Why Dr. Mahathir had to accept the challenge? 2. Who else at Dr. Mahathir's side? 3. Why they were at Dr. Mahathir's side? Viewers are welcome to generate more learning issues from the facts and ideas identified. Please refer to the discussion in chapter 7 of my book. These learning issues are the result of the initial diagnostic process. In no way they are complete or comprehensively represent the overall learning issues. They are the list of the problem-based learning experience generated through the piloting process. And this process involves the minimum level of estimation to facilitate the learning and meet the assessment requirement. And readers or viewers are welcome to work in a group and through a rigorous problem diagnosis generate better ideas and more appropriate learning issues. Of course, two heads are better than one. And finally, step 5, plan for self-directed learning. Having identified and listed the learning issues, learners should be able to plan for their self-directed learning exploration. The process of planning for self-directed learning exploration called action plan. Action plan is the final step in the diagnostic phase. The success of a PBL process very much depends on the readiness of the learners to explore the question posed in the learning issues and in-depth investigation on the learning issues through rigorous debates and argumentation will strengthen the knowledge acquisition and develop a new perspective upon the issue. At the highest level of learning outcomes, the learner might be able to create a new body of knowledge. In PBL context, the self-directed learning phase is very crucial. Apart from strengthening the knowledge acquisition and develop a new perspective upon the issue, it will also lead to problem solving and decision making. Another level of independent self-directed learning, and this phase is where the authenticity of the learning transpired. Lesson learned from this phase will also greatly contribute towards lifelong learning skills.